afternoon. Good afternoon. How about there we go? Good afternoon. Kevin Hastings here, along with Zach Mayu, Hunter Yancey, and that's not today's artwork. There's today's artwork. I don't have. I forgot my hat again, Hunter. It's down the hall. I'll go get it in a minute. I've got to run down there anyway to make Andre happy. Good afternoon, everybody. Shock Joxx by KTC Broadcasting. KTC Broadcasting brings you live sports out of Cherryville, North Carolina. High school sports in Gaston, Cleveland, Lincoln, and now Rutherford counties. We give you live college and pro sports. College, we are affiliates of the Clemson Tigers, Duke Blue Devils, and North Carolina Tar Heels. Affiliates in NASCAR of all three series. We are affiliates of the Carolina Panthers, the Charlotte Hornets, and the Atlanta Braves, all for numerous years, over a couple decades long. I think this is the 29th year of Atlanta Braves baseball this year on KTC Broadcasting. We're proud of that. And for our sponsors out there, thank you for all that. For the 29th year of Atlanta Braves baseball, and we'll get down to maybe see a game or two this year. Someone in my family always tries to get down to see the Cardinals series. Some years we haven't got down there every year, depending on it used to be the same weekend every year, and it's been changed and moved around a little bit. So it's actually interfered a couple of times with football. Now they've moved it back into the August series in Atlanta. But I do get down there and see that. All right, I want to welcome everybody once again. Like I said, I'm Kevin Hastings along with Hunter Yancey and Zach Mayu today. And so we've got some things to talk about we didn't get to the other day with Zach. The NBA All-Star Weekend dunk contest, three-point contest, not celebrity. I don't care about the celebrity game. Some of the other festivities, the actual game, I guess, as well. And then the Daytona 500, the rain delayed from Trump all the way up until the wreck with Ryan Newman, and still getting news in on him today. Major League Baseball, now that we're getting ready for spring training and everything, a lot of the guys are starting to argue and fuss about the Astros championship. We're going to touch on that just for a moment or so and see what Zach thinks on that and more. But we want to welcome everybody once again. All the podcasts on Spotify, Apple, iTunes as well. And then you can watch live on Facebook and listen, of course, like I said, on the podcast, but you can watch the replays on YouTube as well. All right, Zach, let's back up into All-Star Weekend, NBA All-Star Weekend, that is, for you folks tuning in. That's what I'm getting at here. We've got so I saw a article today, Hunter, talking about how the Hornets owned the All-Star Weekend from the rookie and future standpoint with a MVP performance from Miles Bridges. So how do you think about the Hornets and their youth? I had the wrong mic on, didn't I?
Yeah.
How do you think about the Hornets and their youth movement coming forward?
I
Is
think
it finally working?
No, it's not working. It's not working. I mean, Miles went out there and did what he needed to do in a pickup game, just a pickup game, basically with no defense done. I would hope he would have a good game in a game that's not played with little to no defense. Do they have a lot going forward for them? The only bright spot that they have really is Devontae Graham. Mm-hmm. They have their point guard of the future as long as he can play consistent. Go ahead and continue to average around 17 and 7 or 8 assists. Mm-hmm. That's good for him, especially this being his first true season in the NBA. I know he did a stint in the G League, so that's the bright side for him. If Miles Bridges can't develop a consistent 3-point shot, eventually he'll just be a guy that fills the paint, and that's about it in a 3-point shooting league. Mm-hmm. P.J. Washington is a little bit more of a consistent 3 shooter than Miles Bridges, but what I've seen every time I go and watch him play, it's not by a lot. Essentially what I said was they drafted Miles Bridges the year before they drafted P.J. Washington, and they picked the same guy. They've just picked the same guy. Both of them are about 6'8", 6'9" for their respective position. One can play the 3, one can play the 4. So to me, that doesn't mean anything. when they start affecting them winning games, like coming out and playing great and then winning a lot of games, then the youth movement will have worked. Because that was the deal that everybody used to say with the 76ers and trust the process. Eventually, the process started to play out because you started to win.
Mm-hmm.
But up until then, people were wondering if the process was even working.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's not translating to regular season wins, taking you to the playoffs and winning playoff games, then no, I can't say that that they won. Now I'll agree with that statement. They might have won the weekend for the Rising Stars.
Right.
Oh, big whoop. Big whoop.
Does that mean we're going to see these three in the All-Star game in a few years? Is that what? That's what it's supposed to mean?
if Charlotte's good at producing any sort of All-Star in recent memory, it would be Devontae Graham, because he'll be like the only guy that can score for the team in the East. That would be it. That would be it. No, this is whoever wrote this article is reaching hard.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really reaching. You still got the 6th worst record in the NBA.
It's somewhere
can only go down from there, because you really have no veteran leadership, and even your veteran players aren't worth paying to begin with. So I could just sit here and rip them the whole time if I really wanted to, but just off that statement, no. Until it starts translating into them making playoffs consistently, no, it doesn't work.
Well, since you brought that up, Zach, he just said that the strategy as far as the tanking, I think it obviously worked for Philadelphia, and it should have been working. We talk about this the whole time for Charlotte all these years. They've missed on all these draft picks. They haven't won a playoff series since 2001.
Even the Markelle Fultz pick, everybody, thought that it crapped out for the 76ers. He's playing great for the Magic.
Yep.
It just maybe came down to wrong place for him to work.
Mm-hmm.
So even that pick turned out to be good. So, yeah, the 76ers just have been able to hit on draft picks.
The first Hornets won 4 playoff series. The Hornets have never gotten out of the second round, which means them and the Clippers, and I think there's one other team that's never gotten to a conference finals. So the Clippers looking to win a championship. They've still never even got to a conference final, and the Hornets haven't as well. Looking back on they won in 93, they won in 98, 2001, and 2002. And then what was bad about it, Zach, those two teams that made the playoffs, that then they didn't have a team the next 2 years.
Right.
Or in Charlotte the next few years, obviously. They looking at so you watched, what all did you get to watch?
I watched the skills challenge, the 3-point contest, and the slam dunk contest.
My pick came in second in the skills challenge, Sabonis.
I was surprised. I can't pronounce the guy's name for the Heat.
Bam.
Just say Bam. That's probably the best thing to do. I was really surprised, man. He would go shoot the 3, and it was just nets every time, and it was they were laughing because that's just not something that he's
not a 3-point shooter.
Right. And the European guy, I don't know his name either. I thought he was going to win it.
Sabonis.
Yes, Sabonis. Yes,
that's Arvydas' son.
I was wondering about that.
He's not. He's not your Vetus. He's not my Vetus. He's Arvydas.
Hey, he looked really. I thought he was going to win it.
Right.
But I mean, Bam, he did really.
He
well.
was my pick to win it just because I knew his daddy was. They said skills challenge. His daddy's one of the best passers of big men we've ever seen. You know, remember Arvydas swinging that ball around the court?
Yeah, with Portland.
Oh God, he gave Shaq a lot of.
He was a big guy
problems.
too.
Oh yeah, he was about Shaq's size.
He was bigger. He wasn't near as athletic, but he was just a bulky.
Now he wasn't as earlier years,
guy.
So he was compared to like he was the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar of European basketball, and that's what they were talking about.
I want to say he was about 7'3".
Yeah, he was a big boy. Like I said, he's not your Vetus. He's not mine. That was a Kenny Mayne one.
I did watch those 3 events, and I enjoyed all 3 of them. Honestly. I thought the skills challenge was fun to watch. The 3-point contest was awesome. Those guys
7'3", 290.
I thought he was 7'3". Yeah. You got Booker was just on fire. Trying to think of the guy that finished second. He was on fire himself. They wound up having 27 win the 3-point contest, 26 finished second. Devontae Graham did shoot in it. He hit 15 in the first round.
He started off awful, didn't he?
He did. He looked like, I mean, he was hitting the side of the backboard.
They were making fun of
I told
him
my wife,
online.
I'm like, he is nervous. I did like the Mountain Dew balls, the long distance threes, where they were giving you 3 points for those. I did like those. And it seemed like the guys that nailed that were definitely going to be up in points. That's 6 points for 2 shots. Like I said, I did enjoy that really good. And then the slam dunk contest, I don't like the scoring in it. That's just my opinion.
Should people who have never dunked a basketball be judges?
No. And they had the Black Panther there from the Marvel movies, and I didn't even know it was him. He looked like he didn't even want to be there.
Yeah.
But I think they just give out 50s way too easy.
Folks watching online, those are actually Arvydas Sabonis old Lithuanian highlights from back in the day. How all these European players, he was the first he was the first superstar over there that they all looked up to. This is the guys that Dirk and everybody wanted to be. Was Arvydas Sabonis. And
I do know that at the very end of the dunk contest, don't know if you guys watched it or not, but they had went
they
so
beat
far.
the Americans, didn't they? Was he on the team that beat us?
That
in
would have
88?
been it was 78 that beat us, wasn't it?
No, I'm talking. There was one year we didn't remember when we didn't have the pros and we lost out.
Yeah, we got a silver, I'm sure.
I mean, there he is against the Admiral
Dream
David
team.
Robinson on the Dream Team. So it had to be the '88 team. Don't know for sure. I can look it up, but anyway, go ahead, Zach.
Slam dunk contest. Aaron Gordon. They were about out of dunks.
So
basically.
we went to the robbery. Was that people were asking? Yahoo asked, was
Did
that
he
the
get
biggest
robbed?
robbery in sports? And people put what they thought, and of course, my biggest robbery was Dez caught it. So I'm going to be biased on that. Was he robbed? Should they do like a high jump rule, Hunter, where you're supposed to jump 4 times?
Mhm.
You dunked 4 times. If you both tie at the end, then go back and take the aggregate. Whoever had the total high score. That's
Yeah.
what that's
They're
what
gonna have to
Aaron
do-
Gordon's argument was.
They're going to have to do something about that. And here's my thing about the whole thing, and I don't see if y'all agree or disagree.
Mm-hmm.
My problem is if you go to dunk and you miss it, and then you make it up and you get a 50, I have a problem with that. If you missed it on the first try and you get it again and they give you a 50 after you miss it the first time, you got to have points lost for missing it. If you do it on the first try, I'll throw a
Shouldn't
50
get past
out
the
there.
9. Like you can't get a 10
Something,
if you miss
yeah,
one.
something. There's got to be a penalization for missing
One
the
thing
dunk.
is the rules for it change every year. One year you got 2 minutes to do as many dunks as you can, and then
like
you can
that.
then you can miss
Yeah.
1, then you can miss 3. What is an attempt? To me, Zach, I'm with you on that boat. Is that if you leave your feet, you have to count the attempt of people. And the argument was they used to do all the times where they'd throw the ball up and go get it and everything, and that's what would take forever because you got to have a perfect bounce, perfect jump, and all that. And so, and you're right, you can't go up there. You shouldn't be able to go up there and miss a couple dunks and then squeeze one in. Whether it's the greatest dunk we've ever
Right.
seen in the history of the world, that you should have done that the first time, right?
Yep, because that's just the way I felt. Now, I thought both the guys, Aaron Gordon. I wasn't familiar with the other guy.
Dwight Howard, he's been playing for a while.
He was
Derek Jones.
horrible.
Derek Jones.
Derek Jones Jr. Right?
He had been in it a year before with Phoenix instead. He
was,
came up through the G League.
He was really. He can definitely dunk the basketball. Both of them were outstanding on some of the dunks that I saw them do. They were saying it was better than Vince Carter's. It's not better than Vince Carter's. He destroyed everybody.
Well, Andre says the dunk contest was over after Vince did his stuff.
I can probably say that's probably true. I mean, he just destroyed everybody. Now, and you can say, overall dunks, compared to everybody else's dunks, kind of like comparing eras.
Mm-hmm.
I like to see a competition, whether the dunks are just magnificently great, but I like to see close dunks. I like to see copycat dunks from back last year. I think Aaron Gordon did some of Dominique's dunks. and stuff.
Here's an idea, Zach. What do you guys think about this? And I kind of said it the other day. What if it was kind of like a horse? So what you did, get 6 dunkers at least. Instead of, I'd like to have the 8.
They only had 4 this
And
time.
they
I
only-
thought that hurt
They've
them.
only had 4. So then you go in and you go, I do a dunk, then you got to do a dunk. and then you just keep going until the person somebody misses that dunk, and that person's out. Then the next person, he gets to start a dunk. So just put them all in order, and then you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Some type of a way I have to do the dunk that you did. So instead of us trying to come up, there's only so many ways you can move your arms and legs in the air while dunking a basketball. Jump over a car, jump over a taco. Does that count as a jump over him, Hunter, when he ducked and still hit him in the head?
I think it was.
Had to get a 50 for that.
I was thinking it was more on Taco's fault.
I think Taco was scared to death.
That's
if you
what
watched
it
him, he
was.
was like, "I've never." You
Taco-
could see it in his face. He did not want to be there.
Taco even said in the interview after, he said, "I was nervous." He said, "I was actually kind of scared."
He was.
So to me, I think if Taco's not scared and he's able to like not flinch or kind of duck down, I don't even. To be honest, I don't really freaking care. I would give it a 50 just because he jumped over a 7'6" guy.
But he technically didn't.
He when he jumped.
So he was 7'5", 7'4".
It showed me how big Taco really was when they were standing side by side. How far he did have to get up in the air. How tall? Even with his head down, he's still taller than Aaron Gordon. It's ridiculous. Look how tall that dude is. I mean,
his legs got right up Taco's shoulders.
Yeah.
So,
like I said, I wouldn't give that one a 50. I just
that's what I'm saying. That's not a 50.
I wouldn't have the dunk before that. I don't have a problem with them giving a 50. The winning dunk.
But like, my thing is, and like I think that's what Andre's point was. If Vince Carter's dunks got 50s, then how does every other dunk since then still get a 50? Like, how do you get better than that? At some point, like you got who are the judges? What somebody says
it was
comedian or
Dwayne Wade. It was
He's
Black
dunked
Panther.
before.
It
He has not
was
dunked.
Lisa Leslie. Am I right about that?
She's done.
I don't know if it was Lisa Leslie or I don't think it was Lisa Leslie. It was the other one.
She hasn't done like creative dunks.
I can't remember the
but
girl's
she
name.
probably knows more than the Black Panther does at least.
It was 4 total. Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen was the 4th. And from what I've heard, they were supposed to have made it a tie at the end, and Dwayne Wade give them 1 point more than he was supposed to give the Miami Heat guy the win. So there's controversy with that. And Aaron Gordon said he wouldn't be back because he's got robbed 2 years in a row.
Okay, I wouldn't come back either if I was him.
He's been the best dunker the last 2 years. I think, my opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
he's been the best dunker the last 2 years in a row.
All right, so for the game,
I did not watch the game.
Did we talk about the scoring system? Did you talk about the scoring system with us last week? I know me and Hunter went over it on Friday.
No.
So in the fourth quarter, I'll see what you think about it. It's called the Elam system or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And what it is that you add after the end of the third quarter, you add so many points to your score, and to the team that's winning. So if it's, for example, 130 to 120, okay, you would add 20 points to the top score, and it'd be the first team to 150. That's how the fourth quarter is played. So instead of teams trying
Whoever
to waste
gets to 150 first,
right? So instead of teams trying to waste time, you're not calling timeouts, you're not saving time, you're just actually trying to score. So the fourth quarter, it turns into 2 teams trying to score, and it ended on free throws. And some people aren't happy about that, but most games end at the free throw line at some point. One team shooting free throws, and then there's a second left, and someone throws a half-court heave. But either way, LeBron tried to end it with a half-court shot. So he tried to go down in history and make a moment, and he ended up bricking it like crazy. And then somebody else comes down and goes to the free throw line, and then LeBron, a 69% free throw shooter, was chanting to the crowd, "The game's over." So the same guy who just missed it and is scared to come shoot free throws is talking about the game being over. But they did win. It was 157-155, very competitive there at the end. So what do you think about that idea? As not per se in the NBA, because they have 24-second shot clock, but something like that for high school basketball. Everybody talks about Dean Smith in the four corners, but it's not really fun to watch.
No, it's
when
not.
Teams do that. So a lot of that has to do with what they're doing, is trying to keeping it to be about time instead of make it about basketball.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I was thinking pickup game in top of my mind. That's basically what the All-Star game is
Right.
a pickup game. We pick who we're going to play.
Right.
We're going to play, and then what they've
When
done is
when
they
you go
just,
play at the park or somewhere else, you play to a certain score.
that's what I that's
You
where
don't
I was
play
going
for
to
an
that
hour.
right there, and that's why I was saying pickup game. I had no problem with that because we're playing to 21,
Right.
and they're saying okay, so we got 3 quarters done. This is where we're at. Whoever
Everybody on the
151st
planet
is-
has played
Yeah.
that style of
I have
basketball
no problem with
their
that at all.
whole life.
Yep.
Until you get onto a court, and then you got time.
And when you was talking about people being upset that the free throw ended it, I don't care. I mean that's still points. Doesn't
LeBron
matter
tried
how
to end
ended
it with a 3. Yeah.
Yeah, imagine that. I'm glad he missed.
All right. All right. Let's go over some quick things throughout the NFL real quick. Some free agency decisions. Hunter, did you see the news today from your Skins?
I did. We picked up the team option on Adrian Peterson.
Is that good or bad?
It's good.
I got 19 running backs.
I know we have 19 running backs, and I hate it because we draft one every year, whether it's later in the rounds or whatnot. We even drafted Bryce Love and don't even use him. Bryce Love was a Heisman finalist out of Stanford. We don't even use him. Why I like it the most, one, it continues to have a veteran presence there at a young running back core. And he's probably top 5, if not top 3, one of the best running backs ever to play the game. That's debatable amongst people, amongst generations, whatever you can
of
say.
this last era.
He's one of the few ones that is just a consistent downhill runner. And this is the thing I pulled up that I want
Safe
people
say,
to.
but top 10 all time?
I would.
Oh,
Think
easily.
so?
I would say.
That's easily top 10 all time.
I'd say he'd break.
He's
I'd
fourth.
say he'd break in.
He's 4th all time in touchdowns. He's already passed Walter Payton.
There's that's a big list. I mean, I think he could at least get 10 or break into
And
it.
here's what I like about
It's
it the
close.
most too. With Darius Geis going back-to-back years having some sort of knee injury, Adrian Peterson, who was 34 last year, still had 211 attempts for 898 yards. So once again, at 34, he was almost a 1,000-yard rusher, which I'm fine with that. If he thinks he can go out there and still be a bell cow, that's perfectly fine. Until he shows signs of declining, that's fine. Averaging 4.3 yards a carry, okay, I get that. We're at the point now where we were mixing in running backs with Adrian Peterson as well, so he's not going to get all the carries that he has been used to, where he won't be able to get into such a rhythm that he's
Defenders
used to.
don't want to tackle him.
No.
That's the thing about him.
He's
that's,
not
that's
little.
like with watching Cam run.
He's 6'1", 220 pounds. He's not the small running back
The corners
that
and
everybody
safeties
has.
don't want to have anything to do with him. And
He wants the ball first down through third down and even fourth down on sometimes. That's him. He just wants the football. And you know what? I'm fine with it. I'm perfectly fine with it. Until we can ensure that Darius Geis is going to be healthy. Chris Thompson is a third down back at most. I don't want him taking snaps 1 and 2 trying to run up the gut. He's a third down swing out back. I'm perfectly fine with that because he's very good at it.
I think they signed him because what you said about Geis is injury prone. I think if Geis wasn't injury prone, he wouldn't be back. That's just my opinion, because I think Geis can be very good if he wasn't hurt all the time.
He's not a big cap hit either. We got him very cheap. He's really on like a veteran league minimum because he wants to play. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. And especially with the thing I really opened up with first, the fact that it's a veteran and probably a top 10 running back all time you have in the room with a bunch of young running backs you consistently draft every year.
And he can teach them.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so I don't.
He can
it's
teach
a
him
good,
not.
It's a good pickup. Even if it was a running backs coach, he
Yeah.
could be. So don't have a problem with that.
I have no
whatsoever.
problem with that.
Thomas, definitely.
Also, for Washington, it seems that more than likely they will be leaning towards cutting Jordan Reed. So I'm excited about that as well.
all right, Zach, kind of just looking real quick at the top rushing leaders of all time. Wanted a quick synopsis, top 10. I probably agree. Top 10. I think where you put him from there, if you're doing your, Zach, I'll give you a quick Mount Rushmore and see if you tell me yes or no on it. Emmett, Peyton, Barry Sanders, and Jim Brown.
Emmett, Peyton, Barry Sanders, and Jim Brown. I wouldn't have any problem putting any of those on there. I like Eric Dickerson. Personally, I like Eric Dickerson, but I don't know who of those 4 that you take out.
Right,
That's the problem.
So top 10, I've got Dorsett, Dickerson, Thomas, and Peterson
Yeah.
there as well around. somewhere
And I
5 through
think-
8, depending on who you like. Out of all those,
I think it was
some
gonna
people
be-
have different preferences on
As
those.
I was going to say, it's going to go back to personal preference and style. So I don't have any problem with the 4 that you took at all. Who's number 2? Peyton.
I think
Yeah.
I didn't put them in any particular order, but I think that's my Mount Rushmore: is Emmitt Smith, Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, and Jim Brown.
Yeah.
As of right now, other guys nominated. Frank Gore's third right now on the list. Was he ever, Zach, the best running
No.
back in the league?
He was.
Was Curtis Martin ever the best running
No.
back in the league? Jerome Bettis ever the best
They
running
were
back
both
in the league?
3 and 4. 3 and 4.
Was
Every one.
was Marshall Faulk? I think
I would
he
say
was
yes.
at some point.
I would say yes because he was probably the best all around running back that there ever was.
All right. What about Edge? Everybody thought them two were the exact same player, and look at the yardages.
Wow.
I mean, they're 33 yards off from each other, and everyone thought they're kind of the same player. Because remember, Falk was in Indianapolis first before he went to the Rams, and they replaced him with obviously Edge there.
Pretty interesting on that. LaDainian
Marcus
Tomlinson.
Allen was never considered probably the best, but he was always top 2 or 3.
Tomlinson was, I believe.
LaDainian was definitely thought of as the best at some point in the league. I don't think Thurman Thomas was never. Fred Taylor wasn't. Steven Jackson, John Riggins, OJ
I liked
was.
Corey Dillon.
Now OJ was the guy who's people that watched him in the '70s. Zach will stand by. OJ Simpson was their favorite, maybe best running back they ever saw. Who'd you say was maybe?
Corey Dillon's above him. I liked him. I liked to watch him as running back.
11,000 yards for Corey Dillon. Yeah, his younger years, if he didn't have a Bengals helmet on, Zach, everybody would probably think something different.
And Eddie George, I liked Eddie George. He's similar to Tomlinson.
George was
Not Tomlinson. I'm sorry, Peterson.
George was a slightly slower Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
That's a good comparison. But going on down the list, of course, loved some Herschel Walker. Priest Holmes was really good at a certain point.
Surprised that some of
He
these
was probably
guys had as
considered the
low
best.
numbers they got. Stephen Davis
Well,
is one of my
that's the
all-time
running back
favorites.
position, Zach. So let's say you come in. Let's say you have, what's the average running back lifetime now?
Oh, 29 to 30 years old.
So say it's 8 years after 22. Let's say 8 years. So if you get 1,000 yards 8 years in a row,
You're going to get 8.
that puts you in the 30s
Yeah.
or 40s all time. So think about how much Emmett had to do, and Walter Payton, and Gore and Sanders and Peterson to get where they are, just to get there. That's double the number. I mean, Emmett had 11 straight, I think, 1,000-yard seasons, and he had 2 900-yard seasons. That's 13 years, and we're talking, these guys are out 5, 6, 7 years.
What's the TM stand for? Do we know? 2-time. Is that like
It may be
Russian
that's
title?
That's probably what
Because if
that
that is, then Gore had 4, and that's just hard to believe.
That might be what that is. Of course, my little
2 teams. Teams.
It's teams.
I was like,
Just started to
man.
look down and started figuring it out. 2-time. No, not 2 times. All right. Let's see. So that's the Redskins in rushing. Drew Brees is coming back to the Saints, so that's going to start some of our domino effect of. So Brett means Bridgewater not with the Saints. Taysom Hill may be a possibility for some teams.
Who's needing quarterbacks?
Everybody. We've looked at Zach this a couple of times.
Mhm.
Anywhere from 3 to 19 teams, we believe, could possibly make a quarterback move this year.
Well, here's the team.
We think definite 5 to 10, pretty much. We think
Miami.
anyone else, we think 10 to 19 could possibly make decisions. We know some of them aren't, but the possibilities are just crazy. Like if Dallas, would they go Brady? That's a possibility. Or the Redskins going to do? That's a possibility. So those are the ones like that we count are possible but not definite. So we were saying anywhere from 3 to 19. Now we take off the Saints. We're down to 18 possible moves in football, and we're just kind of excited about it to see what's going on. I just want to see. I want these teams to start making the decisions.
When those quarterbacks land, that's going to change the landscape up. I mean,
Right.
let's just say hypothetically, and I don't think it'll happen, but if Brady went to Oakland Raiders, I mean, they said they were trying to offer him 2 years, 30. Was it 2 years, 30
2
million?
years,
60.
30 million. Yeah,
Well,
$60 million.
60.
Oh, yeah. 2 years,
30
60
a
minutes.
year.
I see which. Now, if that would happen, I mean, that's going to throw him in the AFC West with the Raiders team that could have had a better record than they had. They played decent. They're going to be better than the Chargers. They're going to be better than the Chargers. They're going to be better than the Broncos unless the Broncos pick up a solid quarterback.
Now, Broncos had a top 10 defense this year. They were 9th, I think.
And is Kansas City going to regress?
No.
I'm going to say yes. And the only reason I'm going to say that is because of historically, when you win the Super Bowl, you don't make the playoffs unless you're the Patriots next year.
Well, then that historically has been broken because like you can't just pick and choose just because it's the Patriots. It's been done.
We'll see
the
if
Patriots, the Patriots lost it the year before and went out and won it the next year.
Well,
so I mean,
so you could have somebody new in Tennessee, Jacksonville, Indianapolis.
There's no team in the AFC West, even if Tom Brady goes there, that can beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
Does Joe Burrow force his way out of Cincinnati? Do they even want him? Do they want Tua? Do the Patriots? That's the key, I think, to all this is Brady 1. What do the Patriots do 2? And then everybody else. That's when it's going to start getting wild.
If Cincinnati plays it smart, and he don't want to go there, and they want to bring Tua in, what is Miami going to give up to go up to that? You could get Tua plus. I mean, let's just say this is the template. Do you remember Michael Vick coming out? Mm-hmm. And the Chargers got Drew Brees and LaDainian Tomlinson for giving up Michael Vick.
Right.
And at the time, people was like, "You're crazy." LaDainian Tomlinson is one of the best NFL running backs ever. And then if they would have kept Brees, he's one of the top quarterbacks ever.
The Chargers have had Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers
in this 1 year apart,
and
right?
They never made the Super Bowl.
It's sad. And Phillip Rivers I think he's an excellent quarterback. So I wouldn't have a problem with them trading out of that pick if he don't want to go there. Tua's not going to be able to say, "I'm not coming," because he's hurt.
Right now, it's got CBS Sports where the Dolphins trade up to 2.
Yeah, they have to.
And the Redskins moving back to 5.
That won't happen. Washington's set up for
Chase
Young, and you want to know one of the reasons why? There's a lot of the reason why he's going to end up in Washington is because Dan Snyder loves him. Mm-hmm. And whatever Dan Snyder loves half the time, it happens because he's the owner. Now, I know it'll be different. Ron Rivera will probably have his say, but really, he's the best. He's still graded on everybody's big board, the best player in the draft. And Washington at this point could use a great player, the best player in the draft. The reason why
what do you think about moving back for Simmons? That's what the sketchy guys here.
No, I don't have that as a good move.
I think if they go after the pass rusher because you want to get pressure on Dak, you want to get pressure on Wentz. Carson.
Bringing in Jack Del Rio as your defensive coordinator and him switching from a 3-4 to a 4-3 screams he wants another edge rusher on the other side of Montez Sweat. So why not get somebody that they have all pro written all over him? He's basically, it's following the same idea that the 49ers did. The 49ers draft Nick Bosa the year prior. They actually get the quarterback to come back off injury and Jimmy Garoppolo, and they've got the coach right. What happens? They make a Super Bowl run. Literally back-to-back happened the year after they drafted Nick Bosa. If you follow that, we've got great defensive pieces. We just need an extra edge rusher to get to the quarterback. Defensive tackle, we got Jonathan Allen, Landon Collins at the safety position, Montez Sweat on one side. If we move off of Ryan Kerrigan, so what? I think Chase Young will be better than Ryan Kerrigan. But there's truth to Miami probably wanting to move up. Because now the speculation is, and a lot of rumor is going around, that if the Detroit Lions decide to move off Matt Stafford, them sitting there at 3, it's a free shot for Tua. And then Miami, who they thought was going to get Tua, they're not going to have the option to even get him. So there's going to be a bidding war for that 2 and 3 spot. The reason why I don't think Washington would trade so far back as 5 is because then you're letting in-division rival the New York Giants have an opportunity to snag Chase Young, and they just don't want to do that at all. They don't want him chasing down Dwayne Haskins at all, especially with us not having the Trent Williams situation figured out on the offensive line.
Well, I was trying to see draft order right now. This is mock. I mean, this is like if somebody trades. I was trying to see actual draft order.
Yeah, this is the draft. Well, draft order: 1, Cincinnati. 2, Washington. 3, Detroit. 4, New York. 5.
New York Jets or Giants?
The Giants.
Okay.
Giants. 5 are the Dolphins, and 6 are the Chargers, and 7
Is Panthers.
are the Panthers. Those are the ones that I can list off the top of my head right now.
Like I said, Chase Young is your guy in there. I wouldn't have a problem if we're talking about Washington. Them definitely making sure they get him, because you want somebody that can get to the passer in today's NFL. It's a must. You got Joe Burrow that's coming off. I liked him last year. I just wonder if he was that good because of his offensive coordinator, or if he was that good talent-wise. We'll have to wait and see. He only had 1 year productivity because at Ohio State, it's quarterback controversy. 2 was hurt.
See, this is what I've heard this the whole time on why people would take Tua over Joe Burrow, and because you don't know if it was just the 1 year with Joe Burrow or if it was, just Tua's been that great. Tua has not played a full college season the whole time he's been there because he's too injury prone. Yeah. That's the biggest red flag to me.
He's not that big. If you look at him, 6'1", 218, that's not a big guy.
He's small. Joe Burrow, okay, so it's okay. So Joe Burrow,
6'3", 230.
How big is Russell Wilson?
No, he's
5'11".
No, he's at least 6.
He's 230 though.
He's thick. Here's the thing though too. And with Joe Burrow, people say, "Oh, well, you couldn't beat out your quarterbacks at Ohio State." You cannot tell me that it's easy to beat out. It's not just easy to beat out quarterbacks at Ohio State because they get the top recruit every year, 5-star prospects every year. So he's going against other 5-star prospects. Do I think Joe Brady helped him in his senior season at LSU? Yeah, because I think anybody coming from the NFL to the college game will make any quarterback look better. But that still doesn't take away from the fact that he has to make the throws, he has to have the mobility in the pocket and be able to see and read the coverages. If anything, that just means Joe Burrow is more prepared to play at the next level than Tua is. Tua did not have an NFL an offensive coordinator, essentially, because that's what he is right now with the Carolina Panthers, and he was an offensive assistant underneath Sean Payton at the Saints. Tua hasn't had that in his ear. He hasn't had that on the sidelines at practice teaching him. Tua has been surrounded by 5-star recruits everywhere he's been, the whole time he's been at Alabama. LSU can bring in 5-star recruits, but the best wide receiver that he had at LSU this past season when he got recruited there was 2 stars when he first came to LSU, and he worked his way there. Joe Burrow has got the makeup, he's got the arm, he's got the smarts, and he's got really the size that you want. That's what a lot. If you're asking me, you're a 6-foot quarterback, and I'm not saying 6-foot quarterbacks can't play, but he's had lower extremity injuries back-to-back seasons. He's had a tightening up surgery on both ankles, and then he had his hip taken out. I'm not sold on. Tua might be able to throw a great ball, but if he can't stay on the field, what good is he doing me?
And they're also saying here too, we're changing up a little bit too with the draft order. That I was just reading on there that the Panthers are probably going to lose James Bradberry in free agency, and it's looking like the Redskins are going to go after James. We're going for
Bradberry. We're going for Trey Boston as well, and we're looking at bringing back Rashad Breeland from the Chiefs.
And if it kind of hurts
because we've cut ties with Josh Norman too.
It hurts me that hey, we're going to lose Bradberry, which is a good draft pick for us to turn around and pick a cornerback in the draft. I will lose my mind. If that happens.
No, every mock draft every mock draft I see has the Carolina Panthers getting the defensive tackle Brown out of Auburn.
There's Akuda, and that's what I'm saying about fell out. Now they were saying Justin Herbert or Bear. I don't know how you say that.
Oh no, I would. Now I like this better than your Brown pick. Okuda, they have is rated the best cornerback coming out in the last 10 years.
Does a rookie coach want to pick a corner?
I would lose my mind.
I don't think a rookie coach.
Yeah, but what else would you want at this point? You're losing your whole secondary basically to free agency because that's the whole reason why we're even making moves for your free agents because we don't have a secondary either. Your defense was second or third worst in the NFL last year, so you gotta fit need. You draft defensive linemen or linebackers every year. Why not take a defensive back?
Teams might not even be the same teams once we get to draft day because
of the free agents.
I mean, what? Yeah, well, think about it. What if, Cincinnati gets an offer for? What if Panthers offer Cam and a package,
for the number one pick?
Burrow says he don't want to play there, and they
doesn't want to play for the Bengals, and they move up.
Right.
But that's
So
ideal.
There's a lot of teams that might want to move up to Cincinnati, not just Carolina. So Carolina's choice is, so Zach, let's say they keep Cam, then who should they draft there? Best defender? I mean, you couldn't stop the run last year. 31st in run defense last year.
And I don't know if there are any up there. We got an offensive line problem that's massive. But I just don't know if there's any offensive lines worthy to be picked. I mean, if you can pick up some extra stuff, we need more than just one player. There's offensive lineman. Can you get up to get him? If you move up, though, you got to get a quarterback. You don't move up to get offensive lineman, I don't think. So move down.
They've got Judy at wide receiver, Brown at linebacker,
There's an offensive
Willis
lineman. You
at
can
line.
move back. You might could actually take him if is he a left tackle?
Andrew Thomas, offensive
Andrew
line.
Thomas is a left tackle. He played left tackle at Georgia.
You got two good left tackles picking in the range that we are. We need offensive line help. I mean, our defense was horrible. Was that scheme? Because we had players.
Right.
We had players.
Did you get to talk with us about Jameis? We didn't ever bring that up in here, I don't think.
When we got his eyes fixed?
Yeah. So a few weeks before,
I was in here
2
for
weeks
that
before,
conversation.
Hunter brought up that he couldn't see, and we laughed.
I was in that conversation where you pulled it up on here.
Laughed at him and said probably not with the way he's squinting like that. And
he can't.
I remember
see.
talking about it.
He got him fixed.
He did.
I know he can. I know he can now. He can see now.
So now what does Tampa do? They're talking, Hunter, I was talking to Zach before, they're talking transition tag, which means they can't, that they can match other teams, but basically they wouldn't even get a draft pick if they let him go. So that's what they're actually discussing right now. And I thought that was kind of weird in that sense. Do they give him a chance to come in? Do they even make him work out with his new eyes or anything like that? Or is this just
you have to let him work out.
I mean, that's what
you have to let him work out, and you have to be able to see what he has with these new eyes. Because what you have to take this into consideration. Blind, he threw 30 touchdowns, and was blind.
Yeah.
Blind, he threw 30 touchdowns and led the league in passing yards.
But you think about it. Let's put it in context
if
of a baseball player.
If he sees past if he can just see past the linebacker, half of those picks are gone.
I bet got in at a great time. We're talking Jameis Winston.
You put it in context of baseball. If somebody can't see to hit the baseball and then you get their eyes fixed, how much better at the plate are they going to be? He has the potential to do really well.
Listen, I had LASIK in college, and we used to go hit baseball, whatever, for fun or whatever on the side, and we'd play home run derby stuff. It's totally different, just insanely different. And I'd have to wear Zach. I'd wear glasses or contacts when I played baseball, or I couldn't even see the ball hardly.
Right.
So I can only imagine. It has to help with him seeing maybe the second defender.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like maybe then you see the first one, but the other guy, those other guys, you just sit right there. Those other guys have to blend in with, in the background. If you have fuzzy eyesight, those second guys have to blend in a lot. And you're right, Hunter. It may be. That may be the reason he's throwing all the picks.
It's the thing.
Good possibility.
He got his eyes fixed, and instead of you having to go out and pray you can find someone as good or equal to Jameis, now you've got the opportunity to have Jameis, but the best possible version Jameis can be, which was worthy of the number one pick that he was taken by them.
All right, so it's Dan Graziano. Possibility in the story. Is Bucks using a transition tag on Winston, which would be about $2.5 million cheaper, and allow both sides to find out how much outside interest there is. The risk of the transition, which has never been used on a quarterback, is that another team makes an offer and you lose him without draft pick compensation if you don't match. But A, you do get the right to match, and B, the Bucks may value Winston more than the other teams do. Worst case scenario for Bucks is another team offers Winston much, much more than they're willing to offer him, and that would happen prior to free agency and allow them to make other plans in free agency.
Now the question
Otherwise, you can keep him and work on a new deal, knowing what his market was and wasn't.
Now, if somebody offers and they match, does he have to take the Bucks deal?
That's not what it's looking like, is it? It didn't say that, did it?
That could be very dangerous for the Bucks if that's the case. If they can match and he has to go there, then that's a pretty good, backup plan.
I'm guessing it says they have a chance to match, so I'm guessing that
Well,
that he would have to stay.
it sounds like
that's
the
what
same.
that's the
It
point
sounds
of the
like
tag,
the same
right?
deal. Yeah, the tag. It means, look, just because another team's offering you $25 million, if we match the $25 million, we're basically ahead of them on it because you're our player right now. Our tag. We'll just use the word. Our tag is on you. So no matter what, if we match that, you're ours. It's the same deal when Charlotte offered Gordon Hayward all that
what I was
money,
thinking
and
in my mind.
and the Utah Jazz matched it.
That was the exact scenario. I was
So they
thinking in my mind.
matched that, and he ended up having to stay. He just stayed with the Jazz. That's just how that works. So, to me, that's a good move to make by the Bucks, because at the same time you're doing homework to see what he's worth. Because if you do keep him for one more year, essentially it's like a franchise tag, so you only still have to keep him for 1 year like a franchise tag would say. You see what the market wanted for him now. Could you imagine if he goes out and throws for 40 touchdowns the next year and maybe only 20 picks?
If he starts eating more W's, the GMs will come and call him.
That's what I'm saying.
Then they're really going to be
think
into
about
a mess on how much money do we throw at him.
Because that's what I'm saying. If he goes out there, goes 40, and let's say maybe 15 interceptions at the max, you got 40 touchdowns out of him. That's gonna translate to wins because of your roster as a whole. Because the team is good.
It's
The
going to be
roster's
insane.
good. Okay.
If he does that, his market value is going to be insane. It's going to be hilarious.
His market value will. Well, that's all the people will say is all he had to do was fix his eyes.
That's exactly what they're going to say.
All he had to do was fix his eyes. It didn't even cost the team anything. He paid for that. He paid just to get his eyes fixed.
Now, personally, I think he's got mechanic problems.
I just think he waits too long to throw it.
That's right.
I don't know if that's
holding,
mechanic
and then
or if
he's
that's-
well, you look at this long release.
That's true too. He drops his elbow long release. DB's like
Yes.
He
Because they
just
know where
threw
he's
for
throwing it.
30 touchdowns and led the league in passing
That's true.
while being blind.
Blind.
I'm not a Jameis Winston fan, and I'm not making the case for him. I'm just saying I want you to just take that into consideration. Like, really think about that. He just had LASIK to correct his vision, and in the last season, he not only led the league in interceptions, but he led it in touchdowns and yards thrown.
I guess we're getting to see what Mr. Magoo would do at the quarterback position.
Does Hunter know who Mr. Magoo is?
I
Probably
do
not.
know who Mr. Magoo is.
I don't know about that.
He's the old man that could never wore glasses and just would always run into things and
It's great.
get himself into a bunch of trouble.
I got you, man. I got you. So, at the draft, Trayvon Diggs, is that Stefan's cousin or brother or anything?
I don't know.
It says
No,
Diggs was
and they're going
Minnesota.
to the Vikings.
That's
Isn't
why.
that
That's
awesome?
the only reason I said it.
But I'll say this. Did you see that about Stephon Diggs?
Is he not wanting
On
to be
his
the Vikings?
Instagrams? He's deleted everything that he had on there that was Vikings related.
That's a weird world we live in.
And, you know, it's weird how people read into that and will say, oh, that must mean something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it kind of does for guys like, you know, that have grown up in the social media age. So I would believe it. He had a bunch of animosity with the team this last year, trying to hope they would just trade him when Kirk Cousins wasn't getting him the ball.
Exactly.
Then he
Is it weird
started
having
getting the
these
ball.
grown men NFL players sharing their feelings on the
Oh,
internet?
my Lord. It's like
I'm gonna stop following you, Hunter.
Okay.
Just
hurt my feelings.
Zach.
It's no fun.
Drew Brees will be the fifth quarterback
Mhm.
to play for 20th season, along with Brady and Earl Morrall. Can you name the other two?
He's going to be for 25th year to do what?
The fifth quarterback to play 20 years.
Okay.
Drew Brees, Earl Morrall. I'll never say his name right. Morrall, and Tom Brady. Who are the other two?
Are they like ancient old?
No.
Okay. Like George
Well, I mean-
Blanda or something.
one of the guys is ancient, but he's not. It's
20 years?
Yeah, they two other quarterbacks play 20 years. It's been in our lifetime. One of them might even be the
Dan
all-time-
Marino? No, he was about 16.
Mm-mm.
83 to 2000 or 2001.
Brett Favre
Vinny Testaverde?
and Vinny Testaverde.
I got one. I wouldn't have got Favre.
Brett Favre played 20 years.
So Favre was what, 90 to what?
I guess 2010.
I guess he
Played
was, yeah, because he
90.
was with the Vikings and Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Was Jets after the Vikings or before?
I do not know.
I did see him playing the Vikings at Carol. We went to that game.
The Vinny Testaverde
Here, it was a great game. We beat them.
That's who the it probably was, and y'all always draw the backup quarterbacks. He went, jeez, Tampa, Cleveland, Baltimore, Jets, Dallas, Jets, New England, Carolina. He was 2-4 in Carolina.
Yeah, he was horrible.
90 and 123 overall, Zach. He was 43 games under 500, and we're arguing about whether Eli's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
20 years.
Hey, people kept giving him jobs. How about the Panthers? Gave him his last one at 44 years old. The Panthers let him start 6 games.
We had Jake got hurt. I remember.
Is that what that was?
Mm-hmm.
When did y'all draft Cam? 2011? Something like that?
He's been here the same amount of years that Rivera has, right?
But this will be Cam's 9th year.
So 1 year before Rivera got here?
Yeah, I think Rivera picked him, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess. Well, with that said, Greg Olsen says goodbye to the Panthers and will be signing with the Seahawks.
Great move for the Seahawks.
I think great move for both
sides,
of them.
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Does that put them over the edge there? I mean, the West is so
Seattle.
good. That helps out Russell Wilson a lot.
That sure does against the San Francisco defense.
If he's on the field.
He could open up the...
Greg Olsen will be playing essentially the same exact way San Francisco plays Kittle and the same way that they play Kelsey in Kansas City. Because I'm not saying he can't do it, but he's not a block. You don't use him really in a bunch of run and blocking schemes. He's really known for being a receiving tight end, and that's what a lot of them have to be now. And I think that really comes in good for what they really need to start doing in Seattle, which is stop being so run oriented and throwing the ball more. And they have a tight end that they like in Disley. He got hurt. They tried to get him to come back towards the end of the year, and he just wasn't able to do that and be as effective as he was early. And he's a little bit more of a run blocker, but he can catch the ball as well. He was known for being a run blocker in college. So I think this adds an extra depth to them. I still think the one thing Seattle needs to address going into the draft is I think they're fine at the running back position, just none of them could stay friggin' healthy this past season. Do they got to
start padding their defense
I don't know if it's padding the defense. To me, it's another wide receiver outside of just DK Metcalf. And I love DK Metcalf. I think what he does great, which is, go deep, go and take the top off the defense. But Tyler Lockett really as your 2 receiver, and especially with how deep this receiving class is in this draft, I don't see why you don't go receiver. If not in the first round, maybe you do have a need you think you need to fill on this in the secondary. Maybe a safety is what they want to try and get since they've lost Cam Chancellor to retirement and Earl Thomas. So I don't know. There's a lot around what they could do in Seattle, but I think 1, this does help their opportunity of winning the NFC West, and 2, this to me means I would go another offensive weapon for Russell Wilson.
You think about, you have to, if you're in a division, NFC West, NFC, East, wherever, South, and I go back to the time when we had a problem with Vic, and who do we take to neutralize Michael Vick? We took Thomas Davis. And they're in the Seattle's in the league with or the conference with San Francisco with that massive defense, and their front four is going to get pressure. So the best option that you can do is get you a tight end that can get to the middle of the field and give him that option to get the ball out pretty quick. And that also takes linebackers that have to cover him. So I think it's a good pickup for him. I think it's a great spot for Greg Olsen to land, have a chance to win a championship. And it should. This next NFL season is going to be expectancy. Is that the right word? I'm gonna be expecting some changes coming up. It's gonna be a fun year. I think. As bad as Carolina's probably going to be, I'll enjoy watching the parody.
Do y'all extend Do you give McCaffrey a big contract, or do you franchise tag him?
It hurts my feelings for McCaffrey. I think McCaffrey's going to get stuck in being really, really as good as he's going to be. We're going to be horrible. I hope we can fix it really quickly, or he's going to be wasted. Because I think he is a great weapon. If we don't get good really quick, I don't want to waste him.
I think that's what Dallas is doing now with Zeke.
Yeah, he could get wasted. I just don't want him to be wasted.
I
hate it for him.
Great as Zeke is, this team might always finish second to what Philadelphia is doing. And this is what's crazy too. This was I know I'm not going to try to get on Dallas rant, but this was prime time for Dallas to make a run. Because no quarterback to pay, and the Giants and both Washington, especially this past year, were down, and the Eagles were Philadelphia was completely injury riddled, and they just couldn't do it. So I think that window's closing in the NFC East fast, I think the NFC South for Carolina, what the window was essentially is closed now.
I got mad at the internet this morning. Mm-hmm. Gil Brandt, former GM and on his radio show for Dallas this weekend, they listed the top 5 Cowboys quarterbacks ever, and Romo wasn't on it.
He leads in all categories, don't he?
It was Babe Laufenberg, and he was the one on there with Gil Brandt.
I mean, he leads in all categories.
He owns every record there is.
That's what I thought it was.
Besides winning, of course, but
his win-loss record's above 500.
Oh, it's way above 500. He's like 90 and 50 something.
I mean, how many years did they go 11-5, 10-6 with him? 9-7.
Romo started 8 years in 10 and more games. They had 5 winning seasons, 3 8-8 seasons, 0 losing seasons in Tony Romo's career. Cam Newton has had 5 losing seasons. Tony Romo, 0.
I know a lot of people give him a hard time. I like the way he played.
How many and what aggravates me is a lot of some of the stuff is when they bring up the Seahawks game where he dropped the extra point. How many other quarterbacks in NFL history have been holding the extra points? Right. Like nobody else is that not 100% on Bill Parcells right there? I mean, to me that was just the most ridiculous things why he was out there. And everybody forgets a few plays before Terry Glenn fumbled on the 2-yard line.
Yeah.
Dallas had the ball backed up against the 2. They threw a little screen pass to Terry. He goes out there, takes 3 steps, and gets the ball stripped. I mean, that was all they had to do on that drive was waste. That was one of those games where Garrett, if we could just run the clock and punt, we would have won the game. And instead, we're out here throwing passes to Terry Glenn on the 2-yard line, and he fumbled. And we had that was the year we had. I think DeMarco Murray was running well that year, but either way, no, Julius Jones might have been that year. But either way, for them to say they had, let's see, it was Staubach, Aitman. I can't remember who 3 was. 4 was Danny White. No, it was Don Meredith, Danny White, and Dak Prescott at 5. Like, I don't know whoever made that list, but they should turn the radios off, pull the power plugs, and just leave. Just leave. Get out of there. It's just straight silly. On that, any other news and notes in the NFL across the board that we got to go over? Any XFL rules you would like to see in the NFL? So far,
I love the kickoff.
The kickoff.
Awesome. They have to kick it. From what I could tell, and tell me if I'm wrong, they have to kick it in between the 10 and the 20. Is that right?
It has to be playable.
20, 10, and 30.
10 and 30.
It has to be playable.
And they can't move, right, until it's
the
called.
The lineman can't move until it's called.
It's awesome. And I like the penalties for messing up. They get put on 45. I'm like, this is great. So I like that particular thing. I would love to see that come over. I like the way that they don't protect the quarterback as much.
Yeah, they get blasted.
It is awesome to watch. Blasted. It is so fun to watch. I enjoyed watching this more than I did NFL this year. And I've only watched 3 games. I watched the Houston game. I watched the Seattle versus Tampa Bay. That was a boring game.
Yeah, that one was bad.
I wanted to catch the Houston game the other night, and I didn't get to.
St. Louis, it was a really good game. And what's so funny is Greg McElroy is one of the, he used to be a quarterback at Alabama. He's one of the color commentators for the XFL, and he came out with after week 2, he came out with his power rankings in the XFL.
Awesome.
Power rankings. But I'll tell you what, the Houston team is really fun to watch.
They are. That's the one I like.
They're fun to watch.
You saw that pass that dude threw, didn't you? Oh my God, that was beautiful.
And I understand what you meant by the Tampa Bay Seattle game was boring, and that's what I'll get into is just this league, what's gonna hurt it right now really to watch is quarterback play.
Yeah, both of them are horrible.
Only 3 of these teams have got genuine quarterbacks that are actually playing at a high enough level to be at the pro level. Houston, look at them, they're 2-0. DC, look at them, they're 2-0. And then St. Louis, who only lost by 4 to Houston. I mean, Teamu was 81% completion percentage for 3 touchdowns. So they played really well. The other teams, Dallas, Landry Jones really looked awful when he first came out there on the field, but he started to put it together late in that game. He might be able to be the other quarterback in the league that kind of can play at this level. Tampa Bay, I thought they had something when they said they were going to have Aaron Murray playing quarterback. He looked awful week 1. Week 2, they could not decipher between the second or third quarterback who they wanted to play. Seattle, the dude's throwing motion is disgusting. I don't know who that Silvers kid is, but I hate watching him throw the football. I really do. And McGloin, whatever the hell he was talking about at halftime that they needed to change up the whole offense. He said that because, they can interview him right then and there. They just walk off the field. He threw an interception. They'd ask him what went wrong. He said, we just need to change everything. We need to change the whole offensive scheme. He said that going off at halftime.
He was 3 of 15 when he said that.
3 of 15. He was just playing bad. And
He
LA,
changed his game plan, Zach. He needs to get eye surgery.
and then the Wildcats, they'll have good quarterback play because this was the first week that Josh Johnson got to play for them. He's played.
Did not get to see him.
He's got to play, at the NFL level, of course, and so he should look better once he gets more reps with his team. But
has not scored a touchdown. I think it was Tampa Bay.
Yeah, they are not.
But and if you look at their coaches, they've got good coaches out.
Tampa Bay has got.
Overall, like
it's
the whole
Bob
board.
Stoops is out there. We talked about that on Friday.
They've got
Jerry
got
Glanville. You remember the old
I got his autograph.
Falcon?
The head coach for the Tampa Bay team is Mark Trestman.
So they're going to have. I think it's a fun league. I
remember Michael Haynes? Zach?
I do.
Oh, yeah. Andre didn't remember him, and then I met a guy the other day here in Shelby. His last name is Haynes, and I just said Michael Haynes. Neither one of them had ever heard of Michael Haynes. And so I got Jerry Glanville and Michael Haynes' autograph in the hotel, the Atlanta Falcons hotel. See, back in the old days, folks, they had their training facility. They had their own hotel and training facility there in Atlanta. And so when we went down for radio, we got to stay actually in the hotel. And so when you go down the lobby, the players were coming in and out all the time. And I saw Andre Rison, didn't get his autograph, but I got Michael Haynes and Jerry Glanville's autographs that week. So I'll never forget. I think we got Glanville's in the parking lot next to his car or something. Excuse me, quick. About choked on myself all of a sudden for some reason. But yeah, I got Glanville and Michael Haynes autographs. Is that all right? Some of these rules are going to sound familiar, Hunter. Rule proposals for the Extreme Football League.
Wait. So these are proposals for like this year, or
this is for an Extreme Football League.
So not the XFL at all.
No. These are just proposals.
For if you were to make a league and call it the Extreme.
No such thing as an illegal hit. Every player can use steroids and is encouraged to do so.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Quarterback uses Nerf Vortex footballs.
That would be great.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I would love that.
Those things would fly.
Here's one of my ideas that's been thrown around for regular football. No punting allowed. I say no punting, Zach. You have to get to first down. Taunting is encouraged, and you get penalized for being polite. So if you're out there going, and is it Andrew Luck or Phillip Rivers? Which one of them don't cuss? And it's like, yeah, good job, really good.
Well, no, Andrew Luck used to tell him good hit, but Phillip Rivers doesn't cuss. They literally was talking. I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking to Chris Jones, the defensive tackle that won the Super Bowl with the Chiefs. He said one time he hit Phillip Rivers. And Phillip Rivers tried to talk smack to him, but the whole time was like, "Listen here, you little freaker. Okay, you dag nabbit, you hit me really good." But he didn't cuss at all. He just used those like dag nabbits and mother freakers. I'll say, oh well, okay, that's nice trash talk, I guess.
Yeah, he would get penalized for that.
Okay.
Fans get to call plays. Now, I don't see why the XFL can't institute something like that to have a first play after halftime and the fans vote or something
we got
like
the
that.
technology for it.
Right. This is another one of mine, Zach. So they've actually got 2 of my rules that I want in real football. Kneel downs are illegal. Quarterback kneels when they're running slides. I don't think they should be able to slide because it puts too much pressure on the defense to avoid is he going down forward or backwards?
Yeah.
Then when he goes down, can I hit him in the body or I can't hit him in the head. I can't hit him in the legs. And they're all going down, so I guess I'll hit them somewhere in the middle, which is kind of weird. I just think it's a hard. And then we're playing football. You've crossed the line of scrimmage. Let's get hit. Let's not slide down. So that's one I really like that one. Sideline coolers, Hunter. This one's for you. Optional alcoholic sideline coolers for a beer sponsor.
If they want to get drunk, let them get drunk. I don't care.
What do you think Mike Vanderjack will be over here doing, Zach? Peyton Manning's drunken kicker. You remember that?
No.
You don't remember that?
No.
Peyton Manning had a comment. The Vanderjack got on a radio show and was making comments about the team one time, and they asked Peyton about his thoughts, and he said, "I'm not answering any questions about my liquored up kicker."
Wow.
I think it was right before the Pro Bowl or something. It was something. Peyton was not happy with his alcoholic kicker. All right, here we go, Hunter. Celebrations after touchdowns are mandatory.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now-
Why would they not?
Yeah,
That's why a lot of people within the past few years have started to refer to it as the no fun league in
So-
the NFL because
so
they don't let them really celebrate.
Here's the tie on to it. No, there's actually no extra points in this league.
So it's like the XFL, or is it just 7?
No, there is extra points, but it's determined by judges on your touchdown celebrations.
That's awesome.
You get 0 points for a bad act, 1 point for good, 2 points for great.
Nah.
I do like the.
Why can't we have the AP voters vote on touchdown celebrations? We trust them to telling us who the top ranked teams in the sports are. They know everything. We can't have the AP voters do it.
I do like the different extra point conversion options
In the
in
XFL.
XFL. I mean, you should always have the
3,
option
2,
whether you do it or
1.
not. Yeah,
I
I
mean,
like that.
what about prop bets involving the beer cooler? If our punter kicks 160, your whole offensive line has to chug a beer before the next series.
Now you're just talking alcoholic football.
This is the XFL before they try to get serious with it. All right, Zach. They've drawn 2.3 million viewers on Fox, 1.4 on FS1. Good news, bad news.
That's pretty good
That's good.
numbers. I
In
mean,
2
you look-
games?
yeah.
That's it.
I mean, they're pulling
well,
wrestling numbers are pulling that. WWE wrestling numbers. That's
So what is it? Wait, you said it on Fox and FS1 that doesn't
Mhm.
even take into
4.4.
consideration ABC,
ABC,
ESPN.
right.
So
pretty good.
and more people know ESPN than they do Fox and Fox Sports. So I can only imagine what the games pull on ABC
Had I
and
not forgot that
ESPN.
Houston was playing, I would have watched that game. I seen them advertise it, and I meant to watch it, and I'm wondering if that was Monday night because of the race.
It was Sunday night.
It was Sunday
night. Yeah, and what I like about it too is because they do have games on Sunday nights. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of people are used to going to sports bars, watching the Sunday night football game. Why not? I know that's what I did. I went to a sports bar. They didn't have it on,
Right.
but I asked, and they had said, well, somebody else had asked about it. So I was like, well, we need to put it on, okay? Like, it's a football game. I'm not going to sit here and watch a rerun of last week's golf tournament while I'm eating, at a sports bar.
It's good. It's very, very fun to watch.
It's
I will say
fun
that.
to watch, and it's not too gimmicky. You know what I'm saying? They did actually finally use the double pass, the double forward pass.
I didn't see it. Did they?
Either.
It was really good. And of
Surprised
course,
more people ain't done it.
yeah, I know. Yeah, and then Pep Hamilton, head coach for the DC Defenders, they had a substantial lead. Obviously, they blanked the New York Guardians. Guardians didn't score a point, but after a score, Pep Hamilton, it was like one of the last scores of the game. He said, "Well, we're going to try a 3-point conversion here." And basically, when they came to the sidelines, they asked him why did he do it, and he said, "Well, why not? We were in a perfect opportunity. We really don't have anything to lose." So imagine, I want you to think about that. A 10-point game can be nullified
Right.
in
awesome.
an instant.
Right. That's the great thing about those extra points.
Yeah.
This is the exact play that we said would happen with the double forward pass.
Yeah.
It's the exact. We
It's the
even
little
laid.
pop.
Yeah,
It's the little pop
we
pass.
diagrammed this play as soon as they said exactly what's going to happen.
They
It's gonna
watched our show, and
it's
going to
be the forward. Well, we've seen these high school teams run this play over and over
Yeah.
the last few years,
Yeah.
so I know exactly what this was about to
Little
be.
pop play, and then look, backwards, forwards.
Is that Haskins?
No, it's Cardale.
Same thing.
Both Ohio State quarterbacks. Did you see Cardale, though, when he fumbled the football and made something out of nothing?
Yes, I did.
That was fun.
I think I saw that.
That
play.
was
I did
really
see that
fun. But and I'll stick, with what I said Monday about DC and the XFL. If you're trying to get into the XFL, I think DC is probably the best team for you to sit down and watch because DC their makeup is the Kansas City Chiefs of the XFL. Take it with a grain of salt. Please take it with a grain of salt. I'm not saying the DC Defenders can go out here and compete with the Kansas City Chiefs in their respective leagues. DC has trouble running the ball. What does Kansas City have? They had trouble running the ball. DC's defense is good enough to shut somebody out. Kansas City's defense came alive later in the year and helped them win a Super Bowl. And their offense, they got quarterbacks. They got probably the biggest arms in the league and can move out of the pocket if necessary. So they're the same team makeup, just two different leagues. I think they're fun to watch. Houston is really fun to watch. If you have not watched P.J. Walker play, he's another one of those guys where it speaks to why I am so behind the XFL. It gives guys like that didn't get an opportunity at the NFL level to go out and show you and say, hey, I can still play football at a high level. I think it's wonderful. And I'm one that's like, it's okay. I'm not mad that they're not making a butt ton of money. Sometimes I see these guys fight for more and more money on their contracts, and I'm like, dude, you're already making 3 to 4 times what somebody will make in their lifetime.
Yeah.
So it's like you're going to go out here and play football for anywhere between, base salary was 27, but let's just say they get all of their all of the contracts. It's $50,000. So you get $50,000, go out and play football. That's great. That's great.
Hunter, there's your power rankings.
Yes, there were the power rankings.
Number 1, the Houston Roughnecks. 2, the DC Defenders. 3, St. Louis Battlehawks. 4, Dallas Renegades. 5, New York Guardians. 6, Seattle Dragons. 7, LA Wildcats. And 8, your Tampa Bay Vipers. Vipers would
trash.
They would be 8th too on the uniform contest.
They are garbage. And did I tell you, Zach, about how they came out with odds? Out of Las Vegas, they based you could bet on the over/under how many wins the team is going to have on the season, and the Vipers opened up with like 7.5. They were the highest wins, and look at them.
They're horrible.
0-2.
They are horrible.
They are bad.
Houston is a fun team to watch.
Houston and DC, and I think it's everybody wants to say early predictions whatnot, but they both play in their different part of the division.
Here's
They
your
do
play,
have it.
Hunter,
Yeah.
that you wanted to see
here.
Cardale's.
Whoop.
There you go.
There it is.
Nice little play.
Did Zach get to see the double forward pass?
I did not.
But it was literally just.
We've seen this in high school around here quite a bit.
Oh no!
I'm just glad they don't have the knee down.
Was
rule.
he
Yeah.
not? Oh,
Yeah.
so okay. Because
Yeah,
I said,
no,
would
he
he
was
not be
good.
considered down? So
No,
Thank God they do the
He was-
NFL.
that
way
would have been
way.
that would have been
that
a
would
sack.
have been a
Right.
sack in college. Oh,
College or high
absolutely,
school, yeah.
absolutely. The double forward pass. Yeah, me and Kevin did talk about this whenever we first saw that it could be implemented. It's a
We
little-
knew this is what was going to happen.
Is
Zach? You've seen Burns run this quite a bit. It's considered a pass play.
It's
And
a
this is
little
the
pop
first thing we
pass.
thought. Well, whenever they did, it's the jet sweep pass.
Because
That's
there's
a
the
pass.
forward pass, there's your backwards pass, and here's your forward pass again.
So that was 2 forward passes technically.
Just like a jet sweep flea flicker.
Right.
Jet
So
sweep, flea flicker. That's
what it was.
exactly right. Well, they don't call that a jet sweep though, because it's still considered like a handoff behind it. That's like they call those little pop passes. So it's like a pop pass flea flicker.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Hey,
I
I
like
mean, it opens. If you're an offensive coordinator and you really want to be creative, why would you not?
Oh,
you know,
you could have some fun.
Exactly.
Seems like fun.
you could use the bubble screen the same exact way. Go ahead and have your 3 wide receivers out here on the side, 2 wide receivers in the front, the wide receiver in the back who's going to catch the bubble screen, and then have your running back run over there, or a backup quarterback run over there and get the flea flicker and throw it downfield to the guy that was like a tight end or something. You could be so creative with it. I love the idea about it. It makes football fresh, brings kind of a freshness to it. You're gonna probably go out here and see something you probably haven't seen before, and that sure was one of them.
Do you think the NFL, is there anything they're gonna maybe have to adjust or
I think
try
they're
to
gonna
adjust?
I think they're gonna have to adjust the kickoff.
Think so?
Because there's what used to have excitement has
dead.
none anymore. There's none anymore. And I think the way they do it now, I understand where the safety aspect was from it, from the NFL side. I think this is a lot safer too, because it's not just guys getting up to full speed and slamming
When
into
he's
each
trying
other.
to catch the ball.
Exactly.
So it gives them a chance to catch the ball,
He catches
and
the
then they
ball.
make the move.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with
Yeah.
it.
And same thing with blockers and defenders running full speed, just trying to get at each other. They literally are lined up just 10 yards from each other, and you just have to go and block, and they're trying to get past the blockers. I like it. I like
The
it a lot.
special teams coaches that figure those out is going to be those are going to be the teams going to end up winning some, maybe upset somebody in a playoff or something like that.
Yeah.
Here's your ratings numbers. Week 2 NFL, week 2 ratings for AAF
Yeah, that was the one that tried and
was
failed.
1,400,000 on their 3 games. The average for XFL was 2.25 million. So doubling up the TNT viewership and NFL Network, they're almost 6 times more.
Yeah,
Pretty impressive.
it's impressive, and I think what really helps too is the XFL has done a great job of marketing itself. When the AAF came around, it was kind of just out of nowhere. We've known about the XFL for months. They've even gone on like major networks, major shows like maybe First Take and all that, and Oliver Luck goes on Colin Cowherd's show and he actively talks about it. They're trying to build interest. The AAF was just like 2 weeks prior. They were like, "Oh, and there's a football game this weekend." I was like, "What?"
Well, Zach, the Seattle team brought in 29,000 fans this weekend.
It was a nice looking stadium.
The Chargers averaged 31,000 this year in their temporary stadium.
They were showing the different on the game. They were showing the different stadiums they was going to play in, how many people they could put in there. Seattle was one of the bigger stadiums they was going to play in.
Right.
The whole bottom level was completely full.
Right.
It was the top level, and it'd be kind of like going to a wrestling event where it's blacked out. And I think that's basically what unless they get more people buying, but nobody was sitting at the top. It was nice to see that there was a lot of people there, and they were suited up. Like these people had on some awesome. It looked like the Raiders stuff they was wearing, So they were behind. Seattle fans are big time fans anyway.
That's what's so crazy. Think about, they draw a crowd for football, the NFL. They draw a crowd for their MLS team, right? Seattle. Then they draw a 30,000 crowd for their XFL team, and the NBA said we don't want to be there.
That's one of the, not to get off on a side thing. I hate they ever left Seattle.
The Supersonics.
I love the Supersonics.
I
man.
know, right?
I mean, God, Gary Payton and
I
Sean
just want you to think about that. An XFL crowd drew 30,000 in their first
He didn't
home
want-
game,
they're
and the
in a-
NBA was afraid that nobody would just
The NBA
nobody would
owner didn't
show
Well,
up.
the
be there.
Hornets' capacity right now is like what, 19,000, and they don't even
Oh,
fill
they
that. They don't
no,
fill
no,
that
yeah,
up.
yeah. And they said that's what they said the other day. It was like when me and Tom were there, they were like sold out. Where? That's what it said on the piece of paper. Sold out. I'm like, where?
Yeah.
I could move and sit anywhere. Where?
That's how these teams do. Is attendance is totally different than the actual
Butts and
sales.
seats.
Yeah, I showed Hunter, and of course Terry doesn't think that people are going to come to these games. So I had to try to prove to him the other day, and he's like, people aren't gonna come to this, and instead go to NFL games. And I'm like, well, if an NFL game cost my family $500 to go to, and the XFL game cost $100 for 4 people to go to, I mean, what do you do?
And not only that, it was when I've tried to ingrain like into his brain is
That's
that
horrible.
they don't even happen at the same time. The XFL is not happening while the NFL is happening. It's like, well, who's going to go to this game? Well, what else do we have to go to right now besides a regular season NBA game where if there was the XFL team in Charlotte, I'd much rather go and see them try and win than go and watch Charlotte be down 16-2 at the end of the first quarter.
Zach, that's
That was at
Seahawks
the Chargers.
and Chargers.
That was probably in L.A.
Oh yeah, that's
yeah,
exactly what's at.
because they played at a soccer stadium while their new mega stadium is being built, and they think they're going to fill that sucker up.
For the folks watching online, showing Zach some empty NFL stadiums. There's Week 14, Jacksonville. Look at this in Jacksonville.
Wow.
I mean, people say,
That's
"Is that before the
horrible.
game?" No, look on
They're
the field.
on the field.
They're playing. That is Jacksonville.
Wow.
And they're having 3 games in London this year now for Jacksonville, or two home games.
Mhm.
They're officially counting 2 home games now because they make more money in London, which I've been warning Terry and everybody else. You guys better watch out for London. It's one of the largest cities in the
They're
world.
going to get an NFL team.
They're going to.
That's what I was thinking.
And it's not. And look at Jacksonville, and they fill up Wembley Stadium over there for the Jaguars.
It's going. They'll be getting out. They'll be
Look,
leaving.
Hey, man, Minshew Mania is about to take over again in Jacksonville.
Have the stadiums, NBA started downsizing a little bit. Baseball maybe a little bit. Have they reached a point where they've tried to put? Baseball did it a long time ago. But Bush was downsized by 20,000 seats. Are these stadiums too big? Like Carolina's, is it too big? Should it be more homely? Like smaller, like Seattle's field, instead of the big bowl. The Carolina built a classic a bowl shaped stadium, and you sit there and look at Jacksonville. They've got swimming pool over there, and you can't get people to come.
I just want
Look
you
at
to
those
think about this. College stadiums fill up more than that.
Oh yeah,
Every weekend. Even a bad South Carolina Gamecocks team will have more in their attendance than these football games.
there's the Bengals and 49ers. Look at the
even-
middle section.
Don't even
That middle section is where the high priced tickets are. See, the lower section you can get, they're high priced, but they're not as high priced as that middle section. And there is nobody in that middle part
Man.
there.
That's awesome.
And then XFL will fill up the lower parts of the stadium. I mean, there's a Cleveland Browns one. Look at that kick. They're kicking off. Nobody there almost. And that's Cleveland. They're rabid for their football team. So, yeah, and like Hunter and myself have been saying over and over that, you can't
I wonder if that was
that
just
is
recent.
it is.
That's good.
You can't they're not competing with the NFL.
No,
straight up.
they're not.
That's not the point of
They're
it.
not.
I want them to see them. I just can't wait till Vince or somebody walks in and gets one of these, number 1 recruits from college, and that's when you'll see Nick Saban and them lose their minds. All right. Any other news and notes on that before we talk a little Daytona 500?
On the XFL, only note I say is the same note I always say whenever we're talking about it or getting ready to be done talking about it. If you haven't watched it, watch it. It's it's sports. If you like football, just watch It's football. Literally, there's
Right.
nothing different besides a few rule changes. It's not like the old XFL. It's not gimmicky. It's not wrestlers out there, trying to play football. And these are legit football players that could play at the NFL level if they only got an opportunity. So support it. Why not?
So let's move over to NASCAR. Daytona 500 this weekend. I want to start with Ryan Newman. For you folks watching online on Facebook and on YouTube, there is Newman standing up with his little girls, and that is, I couldn't be any more
Great.
amazing. I didn't think he'd be walking, much less, you don't see how good are the fire suits, how
Yeah.
good is his protection. Through the years, Newman has been one of the guys that has vocalized his displeasure with NASCAR and the safety that they have. He's voiced numerous times his problems with the car staying on the track and getting up in the air. It's really kind of his biggest issue. And, Zach, when it happened, you weren't watching live, were you?
Yes.
You were watching live. Okay. So, Zach and myself watching live, and maybe Hunter was not
you
watching
watching?
live.
No, I was not. What was this? Was Monday night? Yeah,
Right.
I was playing basketball. I had a basketball game.
Hunter had an important basketball game.
I did.
to
It
attend
was a
to.
church basketball game. You know what was bad about it? It's we only had 5 guys because everybody else was busy and couldn't make it.
They were
so-
watching the Daytona
Watching the
500.
we only had 5 guys on our team, while the other team at least had 2 or 3 different subs. So needless to say, I was gassed.
I don't know if I want to use a.
Yeah, I
a
was
news
watching
report
live.
from it.
And I will say this before we even get to that. I thought it was a great Daytona 500. I
Right.
thought it was very competitive. My guy didn't. I thought Kyle Busch was going to win it. He had opportunity, blew his engine, and then after Kyle went out, I keep saying Kurt for Kyle. I was hoping Chase Elliott had a shot, and then everybody's had their problems. Yes, I was watching live. My wife came home after everything was over, and I was still kind of stunned. She was at church. She had a women's meeting, and she said, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "I just watched this," and I said, "The crazy thing was I was looking up deadly wrecks at Daytona, and they lost like 8 people at Daytona." And when I seen that wreck there, I was just like, I was really concerned that he was dead because he gets turned very similar to Earnhardt did. He hits the wall upside down. Everybody's seeing it. The problem I heard a guy that was a racer talk about this. He said the spinning is not a problem. Him up in the air right there spinning, he is fine. He said what scared him the most is when he got T-boned in the driver's side.
Right.
He said because that's what
Right.
makes you, with the Hans device or without, that makes your brain hit your skull.
Right.
And he said when your brain hits your skull, that's when you get a brain injury. He said that's where he was really concerned about. Then you see him going down the back stretch across the finish line
front
on
stretch,
fire in the cockpit on
Right.
his side. So the
Right.
top, everything is shrapnel is coming off that. It's amazing the shrapnel didn't get to him because the car was it was a shell of itself, and then they put the black screens up.
Mm-hmm.
And I text Kevin right off the bat, and I'm like, first thing I was thinking in my mind was get him out of the car. And the gas, did you see the gas spilling out
Right,
of it?
I was yelling
like, it's going to explode.
I was yelling at the screen, get there, get there,
Yeah.
get there. The first Joker that gets out of the truck couldn't get it. He couldn't get it going. He couldn't get his fire extinguisher going. He never got it going. The first guy never helped.
I've got cold chills right now just because I'm watching the gas
Right.
pour out, and it's
Right.
on fire, and you're like,
The fire
if it
is this far
yes.
away from the gas.
And
pouring on
if
the
it
track.
explodes, he might not make it.
Right.
And then they have to turn the car over and then get him out. And what scared me the most, me and Kevin was texting back and forth. I thought the silence of not saying what was wrong with him was a bad sign.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they was trying to get a hold of his next of kin or whatever else. Because same thing happened with Dale. They said Dale was dead when they actually got to the car. But it took about 2.5 hours before they made any announcement to that. But great finish. It was great. And it's just a really bad. He tried to block both. This is what he did. He tried to block top. He comes down. He tries to block below. And when he done that, was it LaJoy?
LaJoy is the one who hit him in the
It spun him.
right here. This is where fans are mad about, is that they wanted them to call the caution here and end the race.
They could have done that. Everybody's out of the play.
They crossed the finish line, and the rule is with the last lap, as soon as the white flag comes out, the next flag ends the race. So at this point, and what NASCAR does sometimes, if the wreck is behind the leaders, they'll let them finish.
Which I thought they were going to do that.
Right, which is what they decided to do at that second. They probably gave it to. They have to make it in 5-second decision, right? Like you got to make that decision before they get to turn 3 and 4. So NASCAR decides to let this wreck go for you folks watching online, and they take off down the backstretch with Denny leading, and I just Zach, I want to go through the wreck real quick from what I was thinking was.
Here's the pass.
That was outstanding. They took off right there.
It was great. I was like excited, and I'm not any of these 3 driver fans.
So I'm gonna do the wreck first, and then I want to back up to the actual racing. So on the wreck, what Zach's saying and what I agreed with was when they showed the replay. When he first wrecked, you couldn't tell because it was a wide shot. But when they first showed the replay, I said, "Oh my God, I think I just watched him die."
Yeah,
because folks, he got hit at 195 miles per hour in the driver's door. It wasn't even the door, Zach.
It was like the roof,
window.
Yeah, roof
he was
window
upside
area.
down, so it wasn't even. He had no protection.
Roll cage wasn't there.
The front grill of Corey LaJoy's car hit pretty much Ryan Newman in the helmet.
Yeah,
that's as close as I could come to describing what had happened. And then, like Zach said, once it flipped him upside down, it never rolled over again, and he stood on his. It was on his upside down head, and then when the whole inside lit up in flames,
it was the
because
cockpit was on fire.
My thought was, he just got knocked unconscious. The whole thing's on fire. He can't protect himself. He's laying
he can't
there
get to the extinguisher.
Right. He's laying there upside down, maybe unconscious, maybe broke. I thought at least broken legs, broken back. I mean, he got a direct hit, Zach. A person was directly hit. It wasn't like he hit him in the rear at 195. He hit him in the opposite side. He hit the window.
Yeah, it was
at 195. And LaJoy, as soon as the race was over,
he looked like he seen a
he
ghost.
got out the car and was down on his knees crying.
Yeah,
like he knew something was bad.
Yeah.
And honestly, this is the worst one I've ever saw. The Earnhardt one, you didn't think was bad because he just hit the fence.
It's only one I've seen.
That's the least. Like I've seen way worse wrecks. We've seen tons of worse wrecks.
Richard Petty
than the Earnhardt wreck. The Earnhardt wreck was nothing.
I told my wife, I said it reminded me of Earnhardt and Richard Petty combined.
Earnhardt would have died from this one because he wouldn't have been wearing the Hans device. That was Earnhardt's problem.
He said he wouldn't wear anything. He said halftime he'd leave his 5-point harness just kind of loose, and he would set way down. He died because of he didn't want to do this. It tells how awesome their safety. You ever seen Richard Petty's car? Talk about awesome.
His seat isn't straight. Petty's seat is turned at like a 15-degree angle so he can take the turns better.
Huh.
Richard Petty's seats and looking at the old cars. Dale Earnhardt was looking at him and he sent him out on the tweet. He's like, "What is this?" And they responded back that they had to turn the seats to ride the corners better in those old cars like that. So they're sitting there, Zach, can you just imagine no power steering at 200 miles per hour, leaning sideways and on a wooden seat, basically.
Awesome.
I mean, just those dudes crazy.
I mean,
but yeah. So when it happened, I thought, I honestly thought he might die. I texted my wife. I was watching in my room. I told her to come in here. Don't bring the kids. And she walked out there. I was like, I may have just seen Ryan Newman get killed, and just watching it afterwards, Zach, and you and me text back and forth about it. At least say he's breathing.
Yes.
Like everyone in there, by not giving you anything, and you put up the black tarps, and you tell it all the press has to leave, and they're taking him to the hospital. What other conclusion do you think than, oh crap, he's dead, or all of his bones are broken or something? And they don't tell you he's breathing. I mean, that was my thing. Tell us he's breathing. If y'all tell us that will change a little bit, because people don't want to think that they just watched somebody die instantly. And then people were talking about Hamlin out there celebrating stuff. They had no idea what was going on.
He unplugged his head.
And I'm sitting there thinking, like, at no point, how many wrecks have we seen at the end of a race?
Every single Daytona
at
ends
no point
like that.
Do the drivers drive around and check on the other drivers after a wreck? Denny Hamlin didn't even see the wreck. It was behind him.
No, he's passing.
Right.
I mean,
Hamlin was in front when the wreck happened.
Too quick.
And so I don't blame them at all. And Joe Gibbs immediately, since he figured out what was going on, started praying with everybody, grabbing folks, apologized to the crowd for Hamlin and them, trying to celebrate. And what I think a lot of it is that you've got the sponsors and the TV saying, "Hey, Victory Lane, hey, we got to get this. You got to get up there and do it." And Hamlin in the post race interview, he didn't even want to mention the sponsors' names hardly, really. He's sitting there talking about Ryan, and then he's like, in the Pepsi 40, Ford, blah blah blah, that whole deal. So today we get the good news. It took a few hours to give that he was responsive. And then today we get the good news, folks, that he's up and walking around.
And he looks normal.
He looks like he did. There's no scratches, no burns.
It's amazing.
I can't believe he's walking. I just assumed, because they haven't updated us,
I agree.
I assumed that he's going to come out and he's never going to walk again.
I thought so, too.
I thought that he's going to come out in a wheelchair, even if it might be a month before we ever see him again. And we're sitting here looking at him 2 days later, standing up with his girls. And they've had a rough family issues the last few weeks as well, and this year to compound that, Zach. And so I couldn't be any more happier to see Ryan Newman smiling right there. I mean, that's just an amazing picture and great. I want to know what all the injuries are now.
He looks good right there. Right. And yesterday it came out and said that he was conscious. So is he unconscious for a whole day? Did he have a major concussion? He had to have a concussion.
Oh yeah.
And did he get completely knocked out, or did they put him in an induced coma to do some stuff? I don't know. I guess it'll come out later.
Right. Hopefully.
But I mean, I'm just happy it's like that. He looks good.
Let's see. He's now fully alert and walking around medical center. True to his jovial nature, he has been joking around with the staff and friends while spending time playing with his,
friend
with
of
his
mine,
two daughters.
Mitchell Alderman, texted me, and he said when we found out he was awake, he said, "I wonder if his first question was, did I win?" You know,
it was close. He
about
did.
Would it not been like if he slid upside down? Somebody's won like that before, but man, cold, chilling, bone jarring. I was stunned for a day and a half.
All right, so this brings up a few questions. Zach was talking about the racing, and the racing was good.
Mm-hmm.
I was mad at Joey Logano for a little bit. And I usually don't
aggressive.
I don't really get mad at the drivers for being who they are, and I don't get mad at the drivers for racing. But when you affect everyone else, this is like playing. Hunter,
he took a third of the field out.
I'll give you an idea. He almost did the move where you're playing a video game and you're not going to win. There's Corey LaJoy. When you're playing the video game and you're not going to win, and you just decide to take out the whole field. So Logano, they got a good run.
You decided just to cut somebody off and take your belt.
They got a good run, and instead of backing off of it, which you can't lift too much in Daytona at all in Talladega, is that he pushed the person in front of him, and then he pushed the next guy. And then what happened was they wrecked 30 cars. Yeah. And Hunter, the way the cars bounced, Logano didn't get touched. So after he wrecks the whole field, he still has a chance to win. And what made me mad about it, Zach, if you'll remember in the race, they're late in the race, they had to take green flag changes. And the Fords and Toyotas did different changes than Chevys did. And you remember Chevys, they were actually leading the race.
Mm-hmm.
If that stuff doesn't happen, the Chevys would have been up front. If Logano doesn't wreck everybody there, Johnson would have been up front. He was running outstanding, and Chase Elliott and those guys.
Yep.
So what happened right before those wrecks was that we had green flag stops. They cycled through, and the Toyotas, who hadn't been in the lead all day, are now all of a sudden in the lead. And that's when Logano wrecked someone. And remember, like I just said, he hasn't been there the whole day. They had been riding in the back with the Bush and everybody. And now they're up near the front. Does that cause some of it that being it, you race restrictor plate racing, you know how to do it.
Yes.
But that's not the same exact day. That's not the same conditions, same temperature, same moving. And then he got moving so fast on that and pushing those guys. Do you think we got to do something different? Do you think that caused part of that as well?
Two things come up in that. First off, Jimmy Johnson, I don't know if you've seen his interview. Did you see where he was talking about Logano was just too aggressive? He said sometimes you just can't do that. So, and I'll take Jimmy Johnson. I agree with him. And two, we need to look at is this too dangerous? Is this too dangerous to race like that? What you're talking about,
right?
And it's my father-in-law called me and he said, he said there's having too much of this happen here and it's going to cost somebody their life. He said, do we come up with a different engine that we put in these cars and we don't let them bumper to bumper draft like that they do to cause some of this stuff to race like they used to race at this particular super speedways. They've made improvement. One thing you can say about NASCAR recently, they've made improvements. Anytime something like this comes up, I'm sure they're going to address more safety things that can happen. I'm sure they'll toot their horn about how great they've done with the Hans device and everything else to keep him from not dying. But they're gonna have to look at it and do something. You don't want to make it where it's not fun. You know, I hate that. I was hoping he was going to win.
Boo, Kyle
I know
Busch.
everybody thinks Kyle Busch.
He still wins.
But
he still friggin' wins.
But they're gonna.
Here's the reg if you're watching it online. So Hunter, is this your first time seeing it, Hunter?
We'll see. Well, no,
the big one.
No, this is not my first time seeing the big one.
So Logano ride, push, bump, and when he
this is not the big race. This is Logano wreck.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
So when he bumped,
I can see him right there in the yellow car. He's all up in his he's up in his rear end.
If you watched him before that, he's got so much speed come up.
Right.
He knew he should have backed off. Well, this is not the spot that you want to make that move anyway.
So he hit so what he did, he pushed the 10 Almirola into Keselowski, and Keselowski didn't hit him square on the bumper.
No.
And that's the problem. When you can hit them square and push them.
Yeah.
But if you hit them
clip
any
'em
bit,
on the corner,
like see how he hit him
and split,
moving sideways instead of going straight.
and that moves the air, and then boom.
And then watch this. Everybody behind.
It's just
boom, 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 boom,
Everybody.
boom, 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 through the grass. Then I'm gonna hit another guy. You know who I was pulling for near the end was Clint Boyer.
yeah.
I was pulling hard for
there's
Clint Boyer
Chase. I
once they
wanted
got
Chase
once
Elliott,
once
too.
Jimmy got wrecked right here. I mean, just and out goes everybody. And Logano survived. He's the one that
Right.
gets.
He gets his later.
Yeah, I tweeted
He
out.
dropped it later.
Zach, that was my exact tweet. It
Oh.
was I wasn't happy about that, and so I actually got to that. I want to make sure I read it word for word. So, because what he did was, like I said, he wrecked the whole field.
He's
So
a better
how is
driver
it
than that,
fair?
too.
How is it fair for him to be in it? So we were at when I went to the. If you remember the Roval last year, Chase Elliott wrecked in the front of the field. He ran straight into the tires, remember? And they put him back in about halfway in the field instead of in the back. Well, you caused the wreck.
Right.
Why do you get to go back to where you were? So Logano, and that's my thing. I said Logano should be black flagged or at least sent to the back of the field after the wreck. He wrecked the whole field. His car is fine, and he still has a chance to win. Hate when this happens. This is not fair. They should park him.
Or at least, black flag him. At least make him go into the pits and do the
Sit
stop,
for 30
go,
seconds
yeah.
or whatever it is, stop and go, something in the back of the flag. I just don't think it's fair at all. And then a few minutes later, you're saying he did get wrecked, and I put the racing gods took care of that. But just look at this. Logano gets through it.
I thought that was the big one.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm like, well, there's only 5 guys that can.
But this happens every Daytona. You can pull up any Daytona in the last 10 years, and that happens.
We mentioned this last week, didn't we, Hunter? About they take 3 cars down there. Should they even take their best car,
No.
or should they take a beater?
Set it to back, take
It's
a beater.
survival.
Yeah, that's why none of them was racing at the beginning. The Toyotas,
Right.
they set it to back for the whole first leg of the race, and they're just like, we don't care.
It's survival up until then.
And they had fast cars because they were running. I was watching. They was running 192 when they was at the back of the pack. When those Toyotas got up front, they were running anywhere between 199 and 202.
I saw. Oh, I wish I'd have saved the tweet. There was a tweet, Zach, specifically about that. About the speeds this time. I think it was compared to the Dale ones were about 12 mile per hour faster.
This time,
This right now, today, based on when that wreck was or something. I
they
think that
were
was
they
what I
had
was
got
looking
up to
at. Not
205
100%
a couple times. I was like, that's pretty high.
See, so the argument is either, Zach, if you slow them down, they're going to be bunched. Or do you let them just go as fast as they damn can? Here's the other one that people have said. Hunter, see what you think. Should they take the banking down at Daytona and Talladega to where they can't carry those speeds? Like Pocono.
Yeah.
Because you have to
Brickyard.
break in Pocono in the Brickyard. You have to break in the corners. And because right now it's better. If you've ever played a NASCAR racing game or anything, you just hold the gas at Daytona and Talladega and ride it out. What do you think about that? Any of that? You think they should look into? How do you fix that?
I don't think cosmetically you can fix that at Daytona. It's already the way it is. I mean, can you imagine what it would cost? Or not even what it would cost?
Oh, they've made enough money over the years to
They could fix
redo
it.
the corners.
I did find out something I didn't know about that though. The water that's in the middle of the pond, they dug that up to make the corners. That's why they got a pond in the middle. That was the hole they did. Is that not pretty
That's
cool?
The dirt, yeah.
Yeah. So, but they're gonna have to do something. I thought it was one of the best Daytona 500s I'd watched though. I enjoyed it.
Right, and I was upset with because I thought the Chevys were doing good.
They were,
and it was a mixture, and I thought we was going to have a great race, and then there at the end, I think Logano messed up what could have been a great race. This weekend, they're in Auto Club 400 in Las Vegas. Me and Hunter will touch more on that on Friday once they get more details on that. We'll of course have broadcast coverage of that on KTC Broadcasting, WCSL 1590 AM and 92.3 FM. If the Chevys can keep those speeds, I think we'll have a. This could be an outstanding year. If put it this way: if Jimmy Johnson's running good and competing for wins, it's going to be a good year because that means all the Chevys will be good as well. So this weekend in Vegas, 1.5-mile tri-oval track, pretty much like Charlotte, I guess. 20 degrees banking in each turn, opening 96. Stage 1 is 80, stage 2 is 80 laps, and stage 3 is 107 laps. Martin Truex Jr. has won 12 races on a 1.5 miles since 2016, twice as many as the next, almost twice as many as the next closest driver. Stage 2 winner at Vegas has won all 5 races in Vegas. We'll give some previews on Friday from Hunter and I. Last year's winner was Logano, so we'll see if he can repeat. Active Vegas winners, can Jimmy Johnson pick up his win? He's won 4, Brad Keselowski 3, Harvick and Truex 2, Kyle Busch and Joey Logano have both won once in Vegas. All right, Zach, any other news and notes? We're moving along.
I have
Hunter?
anything.
I don't have anything else. Really,
Let me check my
we've kind
fun
of
tweets and notes for the day.
one thing that I thought we were going to talk about, and I'm actually kind of glad we're not because I think it's been beat the hell out of, is the cheating scandal.
Yeah.
I feel like that's just
It
something
has-
every day.
The players are starting to voice a little bit more.
Which
One thing I
is
was
fine with it.
thinking,
I'm
I don't have a
fine
problem
with
with them.
that.
I don't have a problem with one thing.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, it's going to be so interesting. The what do you call it when people watch it? Watch the TV.
Viewership.
The viewership is going to be out the roof when they first get on the field because they're going to get some beanballs thrown at them.
Well.
Could you imagine how they're going to get just? How many teams is going to just say, you know what, we're going to give up a game just to sit here and throw at you all day, throw every pitcher we got,
Well.
just barrel you.
So, I mean, at least now would be a good time to institute my two base rule on a hits batsman.
Yep.
That's been my proposal.
It's going to happen. They're going to get retribution somehow. And like I said, I don't know how you got to take their championship away. They took 7 away from the bicycle rider. Me and Andre was watching. What's his name?
No, you're talking about Lance Armstrong.
They took 7 away from him. You can't take that away from the Astros.
old one nut Armstrong. Yeah.
He kills people. It's been every time his quarterback throws a pick. I'm just reading the funny. It says Keenan Allen hoping the Chargers pursue Jameis Winston, so he has a shot of leading the league in receiving and tackles.
That's horrible. It's great.
This has come from a comment from Darius Slay. He said, I've been watching Keenan Allen film, and the more I watch, the more I respect his game. It's not that the fact that he kills the people off the line. It's because every time his quarterback throws a pick, he chases them down and makes the tackle. Respect Big Dog.
Lions are openly shopping Darius Slay, looking to trade Darius Slay.
All right.
So that's a
And
cornerback.
Stafford's been thrown around a little bit.
Yep.
Here's the headline from Greg Olson signing with Seattle. You ready, Zach?
Mm-hmm.
Legendary XFL broadcaster lands job on the field for former Super Bowl champion.
Yeah.
You like that one?
That's a good
Chargers
one.
might go after Jameis Winston, Andre. What do you think about that? Teddy Bridgewater in Tampa. He's got a winning record. Oh my gosh. He don't throw it to the other team like Jameis either.
If we could take Jameis's yards going forward and when they intercept it, go back the other way, he'd really be like top quarterback.
Hey, I think
Well, hey, look at
I
his
think
numbers.
Bridgewater.
He's balling.
I actually think Bridgewater would be a good match in Carolina. He'd be good throwing it to McCaffrey and swinging around and running that offense. But
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem having him there.
you guys are gonna have to decide that. It's just rookie coach is gonna decide what he wants to go with, a young guy or Cam.
And I don't even know if Matt Rule's the answer long term. I don't think he makes it 7
Got a
years.
7-year deal.
I don't think he makes it
I'm
7
fixing
years.
not to be a Panthers fan.
Zach, y'all gave
Fixing
that
not to be a
guy,
Panther fan.
the Baylor football coach, a 7-year deal, and Ron Rivera never got more than 2 or 3 at a time.
And he makes more than he did ever.
Yep.
I'm about not to be a Panthers fan. I'm fixing to be done.
You
I'm
gonna
gonna be a Houston.
You gonna be a
XFL
Browns fan with me?
I'm gonna be
Come
a
on.
Houston XFL.
He's gonna be a
fan.
Roughnecks fan.
Go
hey,
to Cleveland with me.
dude,
Hey,
it's okay.
Dallas-
it's okay to be an XFL fan.
the
Don't
Dallas
let Terry
Renegade-
scare you.
The Dallas Renegade jerseys are all, that's all you, Zach. It's off the chain. You want one? You may set you one up.
Yeah.
We can set you one up.
Oh, you're talking about a Renegades jersey?
We're gonna get Mayu jersey right here. So let's go. So Friday we're gonna have another podcast, folks.
Looks like the Titans.
Yeah, it does look like the
When
Titans.
you put Romo on the back of that, I was like, surely they didn't sign. But I was thinking, surely they didn't sign Romo. Wouldn't that be awesome?
It would. I'm all in. But all right, Friday we're gonna do podcast. We'll talk XFL previews. Hopefully more NFL free agency stuff to do.
Right. The moving pieces will be starting right now.
When does free agency start?
Next month, March 18th.
Well, that's the official. The guys are already talking to teams now. That's why like Greg Olson is talking, is agreeing with the Seahawks. So they're already talking to them. They just can't officially sign. I don't know why that preview's not coming up. All right. Saturday, we'll have Saturday Sports Talk with Terry and Tom. NASCAR driver has been treated and released.
That's even better, man.
From
Look
the
at that,
hospital. That's crazy. Crazy. I'm going to pull
don't
up the
think he's got no
picture for
shoes on.
everybody on. Yeah, it doesn't look like he has shoes on.
Do whatever you want to if you're Ryan Newman.
I'm pretty sure his shoes are embedded in the infield of the Daytona 500 right now. That was just outstanding. Just an outstanding story that he is walking out of the hospital right now 2 days after with his daughter. The question is now, Zach, is he going to drive anymore? This was maybe looking like one of his last years. He didn't know if he was going to keep going. He was supposed to retire 2 years ago.
Said that he was worth $50 million.
Yeah.
I'd hang it up.
Yeah.
That would be enough.
Does that
for
not
me.
scare the crap out of you
Yes.
if you're Jimmy Johnson?
His kids are so small.
Does it? You know, this is your last year. Does he race? Does he
finish out the season?
Does he race as aggressive at Talladega and Daytona
No.
next time,
No.
or does he just sit back and be like,
No.
this is stupid?
I had somebody.
Unless he knows that he's going to be there at the end and
Right.
with the possibility of winning a championship, that's when you really start to look at yourself and be like, maybe right now it's better to walk across the finish line than to not walk across the finish
Somebody
line.
said this today, and it made a lot of sense. They said, okay, so we're looking at this, and you're like, okay, do you give it up? Do you not? I would give it up. But they give the analogy of the baseball pitcher. And how many times does a ball hit a pitcher in the face? Not many, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if it hits a pitcher in the face one time, what's the odds of it hitting him in the face again? You know, and that's what they were talking about this morning. They said they would continue on. If I had that kind of money, my kids were that small, he can go anytime he wants to and drive something. You know, if he just got a little.
I think Jimmy's thing is that, like, say Ryan Newman isn't driving for history.
Yeah.
Jimmy is.
Yeah.
He's trying to break he's trying to tie Darryl Waltrip and them's record, break them, get past them for wins, and he's also trying to break Earnhardt and Petty's all-time championship. I thought he would race to get 100 wins. I thought he was going to go after Cale Yarborough's record, but then maybe the Chevy problems they've had the last few years kind of put a dent in that. That's what I thought he'd end up doing. Said he's going to race. He wants to do the Boston Marathon and a couple of things like that.
Yeah, I mean, his
he'll
mind,
be in the Indy
his
500.
mind is not 100% on NASCAR.
Yeah.
So to me, what I'm thinking, like I said, is if he's not there in contention at the end for the championship or in the playoffs, he just kind of coasts his way across the finish line.
He grew up racing motorcycles.
Mm-hmm.
So do you? I always thought he would go for try to get the 8, but whatever. Does he do? He'd probably do the 24 hours races. He's going to do some IndyCar, maybe some F1, some specific races and things like that. But good luck to him the rest of the year. I hope he gets his 8th championship and at least wins 2 races. I want to win 2 races at least. All right, Hunter, let's say goodbye today. You done? You got to give me a ride today.
I got to give you a ride today.
Is that okay?
We're going to have to make it fast.
No, yeah.
Oh.
All right. So I'll see you guys on Friday. Tune in. Shock Joxx podcast. Hunter will be here, and we'll have some more fun coming up on Friday's show. Zach, have a good week. We'll see you next week.
Yep. Have a good week.